I awake in thy light, I awake in thy light. I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy light. I awake in thy light, I awake in thy light. I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy light. I awake in thy light, I awake in thy light. I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy light. I awake in thy love, I awake in thy love. I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy love. Hello, friends. Can you imagine? We're finally at the end of this wonderful year. Okay, it is New Year's Eve, even here on Camino Island. I'm getting messages from my friends in India that, of course, it's already the new year there on the other side of the planet, but not quite here on the west coast of America. Our reading today from Whispers from Eternity is absolutely perfect. It's number 203, and you'll see why in a minute. Save us from religious bigotry. Our one Father, we are traveling by many true paths to your one abode of supreme truth. Help us to understand that the diverse religions are all branches on your one tree of truth. Bless us that we may enjoy the intuition-tested, ripe and luscious fruits of self-knowledge that hang from every branch of true scriptural teachings. Your temple is but one. Its name is silence. In it we sing to you a combined chorus of many religions. Teach us to chant together in harmony. May the combined expressions of our love for you make you break your silence and lift us up, as a mother does her children, onto your lap of universal understanding and immortality. Sing along with us to confirm your acceptance of our chants to thee. Well, after this year, an affirmation prayer demand for getting rid of religious bigotry, and I will add, in the name of getting rid of religious bigotry, all bigotry of whatever superficial source, whether it be race or gender or language and culture and so many different things by which we judge the world around us to be either liked or disliked. Not saying that everything in the world around us is equally worthy of our praise and so forth, but nonetheless, as it comes to judging, especially people, on the basis of superficial characteristics without any knowledge of their character, let's say, we have a long way to go. It's true. So save us. Now I'm going to read something else, one of my favorite readings, and it's from this wonderful book, Autobiography of a Yogi. And it's from the chapter towards the end of the book called The Bengali Blissful Mother. Towards the end of that chapter, and in describing Anandamui Ma, the woman saint there in Bengal, he writes, casting aside every inferior attachment, Anandamui Ma offers her sole allegiance to the Lord, not by the hair-splitting distinctions of scholars, or theologians I might add, but by the sure logic of faith. The childlike saint has solved the only problem in human life, establishment of unity with God. Man has forgotten this stark simplicity, now befogged by a million issues. Refusing a monotheistic love to God, the nations disguise their infidelity by punctilious respect before the outward shrines of charity. These humanitarian gestures are virtuous because for a moment at least they divert man's attention from himself, but they do not free us from our single responsibility in life, referred to by Jesus as the first commandment. the uplifting obligation to love God is assumed with man's first breath of an air freely bestowed by his only benefactor. Yes, this day of each year is always a time to look back and sum up how we did this year, and then also how we might improve in the year to come. And what a year it has been. And in terms of its challenges, it's not going to go away by the passing of midnight on December 31st. You know, other cultures, especially the more traditional and ancient cultures whose calendars are based not on the sun but on the moon, New Year arrives at different points throughout the year. And I won't say that's the reason necessarily, but since my early youth, New Year's Eve has never held any particular fascination to me, wanting to go out and whoop it up and rejoice and holler out into the night, Happy New Year! It's fine if other people do. It's just never been an interest or a compulsion of my own. And so I find it difficult to give this particular day its due, as so many do. Nonetheless, here we are, and this year is about to pass. And it is nonetheless, despite me, an excellent time for all of us to rethink, reaffirm our priorities in life. When we see all the challenges faced by humanity, they seem so real to us now, and of course they are. But if you were a student of history, as I am but an amateur student, you would see that such challenges have always faced human beings from time immemorial. Jesus himself, 2,000 years ago, predicted to his disciples, he says, don't bother. There will always be plagues, we call pandemics, wars, by whatever name conflicts, I think we call them now. All of these things will always be part and parcel of the human drama. By that, I don't mean to lessen the intensity and the importance of things like climate change and racism and so forth that we face. But as Jesus said, the poor ye shall always have with you. And by poor, and he was a person of great love, so you can hardly criticize Jesus, but by poor, I would extend that to mean all the ills and trials and sufferings that we are heir to. And in these readings, then, Save Us from Religious Bigotry, but the affirmation from autobiography that our one true duty is to know, love, and serve God, as my Baltimore Catechism put it, so simply, but also so clearly and correctly. Let's make that our affirmation. The other day, when it was my turn again for whispers, I talked about practicing the presence of God and ways that could be done. And that's the affirmation we should have. The problem is when we talk about religion, words like religion come with a lot of baggage. That little poor old word G-O-D, God, dog spelled backwards, comes with a whole lot of baggage. And we each have to make our way towards that ideal. It can be done in very personal ways. Yogananda in his original lessons talked about one of the ways to cosmic consciousness was by opening one's heart to all beings. You might say through the humanitarian, or what he called the social path to God. And that's not sociopath, social path to God. And the other way, the transcendent or metaphysical path, is through meditation, through withdrawal of life force from the senses, from the body, to actually experience a transcendent state of being beyond thoughts, beyond the emotional reactions to thoughts and to the senses, etc., memories and desires and fears. And of course, there's also through the very willpower of the mind, sort of the stoic path, as I like to call it. And it's the Jnana Yoga path, in which You ignore all of the stimuli and input from the mind and from the senses and remain in the watchful state. That path does not really um, find value in society and history in these days, perhaps in a higher age when people's minds are under their control. Um, so, really, we have two ways, and they are the two commandments of Jesus, which, by the way, he stole from the Old Testament. And those two commandments are to love God with thy heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love thy neighbor as thyself, the social path and the transcendent path. This is the affirmation I'd like to offer all of us into a new year, because this is the only truth there is. It's the pearl of great price. It's the truth that shall make us free, you see, because all else is nothing but a yo-yo of good weather, bad weather, suffering, happiness, success, failure. I'm not saying those things aren't important, but if in the moment of them we are so caught up and so identified that they seem like that's our only reality and they seem eternal, which is why hell is described as being forever or heaven, because when you're in the midst of hell or heaven, it seems like that's the only reality there is. That's what that really means. So let's hold to this affirmation to love God with thy heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love thy neighbor as thyself, because your neighbor is thyself. Now, that affirmation, that prayer demand, simple and universal as it is, has to, of course, be nuanced in its application moment to moment and person to person and so on and so forth. Most people, very few people, can meditate more than a few minutes at a time with any depth and transcendent awareness. And most people have folks who don't like them and folks that they don't particularly care for. So I admit it's an upward battle. But where do you start? Just in the battle from which you can barely rise above the din? Or from daily withdrawing from the battle, entering the only temple there really is? And I've traveled the world going to temples, but the only temple is the temple of silence within you. And it's portable, it goes wherever you go. And so let this portable paradise of inner peace be our guide and our constant companion, and that to which we reference our words, our thoughts, and our actions. Okay, folks, a happy new year. It seems so trite, doesn't it? But what else you gonna say? You gotta be sociable instead of being stuck up and aloof, right? As much as I would sometimes prefer to be out of the name of honesty. But indeed, I do hope it'll be happy in the soul sense, a happier soul awakening year for each and every one of us. So let's affirm the truth that shall make us free. And for the moment, I'm going to give this video thing a few seconds to get to you before I cut it off, because I won't see you. Be next year at some time. Okay, great souls. Remember, you're doing the best you can, right?